Well, when you're talking about theme parks in 2025, one of the first things that will come to mind is Epic Universe, the brand new theme park opening from Universal Studios just in about a month now. And one of the big questions out there is not only about Epic Universe, but how will Disney fare with this brand new theme park opening and much more competition from Universal? And one of the questions also being that Walt Disney World's typical behavior and what they typically do with prices is they increase prices. And in the face of this brand new theme park and potentially affecting their own attendance in their theme parks here, will Disney World raise ticket prices this year or going into 2026? And the answer is they have, but not as badly as you might think. And some of it actually has stayed the same. So interestingly enough here. So we're going to go through an article here, give some thoughts on it and talk about it here. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And there was a little confusion on this, I will say. Because the first headline I saw was from another outlet that shall not be named, but they had the headline that said Disney lowers ticket prices in like unprecedented move. And I was like, what? And then they have now changed that headline because then I saw Blog Mickey's headline here and it says ticket prices have gone up, but it's not by as much as I assumed it could be. And again, making an argument that they've raised ticket prices at all during this time period is kind of interesting in of itself, but we'll go through this and then give some thoughts on it. It says, guests looking to purchase tickets for 2026 on a Walt Disney World vacation can now make purchases through October 26th. The headline here is that price ranges remain similar from 2025 to 2026, with some increases and more likely on the way. Here's a breakdown of what you can expect to find. It says, before we take a look at the 2026 pricing, here's a look at the pricing range for 2025. Keep in mind that this is a range with pricing changing from day to day as Disney World anticipates demand and manages attendance through higher and lower pricing. So for 2025, Magic Kingdom was $139 up to $199. Epcot was $129 to $194. And Hollywood Studios was $139 to $194. And Animal Kingdom was $119 to $174. Mind you, this is a single-day ticket, no park hopper, just a base-level ticket there. Also doesn't include things like Lightning Lane and other things that you'd have to get on top of that. It says, now when discussing the ticket pricing for 2026, it's important to note that pricing has only been released through October 2026. That means that we don't know pricing for November 2026 or December 2026. Those are historically the busiest and priciest months of the year, which means that those would contain the pricing typically seen on the upper end of the range. So while we have the 2026 range in currently available ticket pricing below, keep in mind that the upper end could change as once tickets for the most expensive months of the year are released at a later date. So here's what we have for 2026 Walt Disney World ticket price ranges. Magic Kingdom is the same at $139 to $199. Epcot is $129 to $194, so that one has not changed. Hollywood Studios is $139 up to $199. So Hollywood Studios has gone up $5, which puts it on the exact same range as Magic Kingdom, which I think that's interesting. And Disney's Animal Kingdom has also gone up from $119 to $179. It says, as you can see from the price range above for the currently released ticket dates, pricing has gone up on the upper end of the range for two of the three parks. Both Disney's Animal Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios have an upper price range that has increased by $5. At Epcot, the upper end of the price range remains the same as 2025, but keep in mind that 2026 price ranges don't include November or December, right? It says Magic Kingdom, the range has remained the same as last year. It says overall, we can expect the upper end of that price range will continue to climb in November and December of 2026 once those tickets are released at a later date. So I'll just say right off the bat, raising ticket prices at all during this time period, I think is not a good move, even if it's only $5. And a lot of this stuff, a lot of people aren't buying single day tickets, but it does set the precedent of where they base everything else off of. And the part that makes no sense to raise the ticket prices at all would be Animal Kingdom, given how badly that park has been hit with attendance the past few years and very likely is going to get hit pretty hard by Epic Universe, as a lot of people I think are going to go to Epic Universe, Universal Studios, and maybe still come over to Disney, but they're going to be dropping Animal Kingdom because they're not going to be going to all four parks on many people's trips. And you can also make the argument, given that there's going to be major construction in 3 out of the 4 theme parks, Epcot being, not part of that actually either keeping it exactly the same or lowering ticket prices might actually give you some goodwill and would make a lot of sense, given you have the issue of construction everywhere. So while $5 isn't much, it's still like they can't help themselves by not raising the prices at all. Like for them, this was probably excruciating to only do $5. So personally, I think it would have been a much better gesture from an optics standpoint to either keep them all the same and then come out and say, hey, we're not going to raise ticket prices this year and next year. We heard your feedback and we're trying to be, whatever. We're trying to get more families to come, be more accommodating, whatever the language they want to use. I think they could have got some goodwill out of that. But even raising it only $5 just more or less cements it in many people's mind that Disney can't help themselves but raise prices. And especially Animal Kingdom is the one that I just don't understand why you would raise any prices at all. In fact, if you are having issues getting people into your park, lowering prices at that theme park would make a lot of sense. So I suppose on some level, this answers a little bit of a question about, is Disney going to raise prices in October? And, typically they raise prices in around October, November time period. It seems like they may not be doing it this year, at least on the tickets, as this goes into effect for 2026. That doesn't mean they won't do it for food and other things. I haven't heard anything about that. But going into 2026, okay, it's gone up $5. It's not the end of the world. Most people aren't buying single day tickets. Like, okay. But even, the article insinuates Disney is likely to raise prices, November and December. Those are some of the busiest times of the year for Disney World. Now, given past track record, yeah, they would likely raise prices. But I do think, given Epic Universe and what that potential impact on Disney is, and again, it's not just this year. They are not going to have anything open in terms of new attractions to combat Epic Universe for 2, 3, 4 years, maybe more, before Animal Kingdom's construction comes online with those new attractions. So you've got multiple years that you're going to have to deal with Epic Universe with whatever you currently have, and then offering discounts and perks to try and get people to come over. I think the idea of raising ticket prices in that environment, if they are getting hit by attendance from Epic Universe, would be wild to do. Now, I say that, and they'll probably do it, but I think during this period, it's very strange seeing them raise prices at all while also running all these discounts that they're currently running. They just announced hotel deals for some of them under $99. You've got, at 3 out of the 4 parks, you can get tickets for $85 per day, not including Magic Kingdom. Kids half-price tickets going into free kids dining plan into 2026. Like, they're running a lot of discounts, obviously, to try and combat Epic Universe, and also potentially just consumer spending is also down. So that's another factor of this as well, is the economy. So going into 2026, yeah, historically they will raise prices, but that is a riskier proposition, especially all the attention that Disney has gotten recently about their price hikes. Given you got New York Times, you got the Wall Street Journal that ran an article talking about people inside of Disney themselves were getting worried about the price hikes. And some of the quotes out of that article were, Disney is addicted to price hikes, and they were getting worried about the guest intent to return numbers in their surveys were dropping. And given how much Disney has raised ticket prices, especially the last 5 years, and the perks that have gone away, mainly being FastPass Plus, as that is now Lightning Lane. So these are just the base ticket prices. If you want to have Lightning Lane on your trip or the multipass, that's going to be an extra $30-some per person. So essentially, even if you're paying, $199 for Magic Kingdom, if you want Lightning Lane, that's going to be closer to $230 some odd per person on a single day ticket. So many ways, this is the entry point to spending more. And I think in this environment currently that Disney finds themselves in, with a lot more competition, you have some economic factors out there. Bob Iger himself has said some of the construction could be delayed based off some of the tariffs and things, that they're just sort of unknown, a very fluid situation at the moment. I think going over that $200 mark would have been a headline thing, and they probably figured now is not the time to do it. But also, just from a common sense or business standpoint, when you're already running these discounts, and everybody that is following this stuff understands what Disney's doing here, is they're going to have to run discounts, deals, more perks to try and lure people over with as much attention as Epic Universe is getting. And I do believe that is very warranted after having gone to that park, and I'm going again this week. It's a fantastic theme park, and people are loving it, and it is going to be a major hit. Now, there's factors economically and things that could hit Universal as well, but very likely Universal is going to have a massive increase in their attendance over the past few years, and they're going to continue to eat into market share. So Disney's just really going to have to compete on value and offering discounts for the hotels, tickets, etc. And to raise prices at all in that environment, I find very wild. But I do think they find themselves in uncharted waters. They're not used to this much competition. this much, I guess you could just say, backlash from the fans over not only the prices, but the perks that have been removed, the complicated nature of the vacation. And then on top of that, you've got the added attention from the mainstream outlets that have openly been talking about all the price hikes going on. And so I don't know if this would constitute a price hike. It has gone up. It's $5, but it's still a price increase feeding into that already rhetoric out there about Disney hiking up prices. So I don't think this is a great move by any means. It could be much worse, but I think raising prices in November and December of 2026, that could be very interesting given how Epic Universe affects them, what things look like a year from now. I mean, things can change within months, let alone an entire year from now. So will they raise prices then? It's possible. But again, they could find themselves in a position where they're getting a lot more flack for a lot of the things they've been doing. But in that environment, if that's happening, Epic Universe is hitting them, their attendance is down, whatever the factors are, I think them going over that $200 mark, even if it was only $1, I think that would become headline news that Disney's already struggling and they're raising ticket prices again. Now, I say that, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they do it. But it would be something that would just be fodder for YouTube. It'd be fodder for the mainstream outlets like Twitter, X, everybody be talking about that. And I think this is why they didn't raise prices above that $199 mark. So personally speaking, if it was me, and I would make many different decisions than Disney makes, but I would basically just put a halt on increasing any prices, especially when you look at how much prices have gone up the past 5 years. You've had your fill of ticket increases. You've had your fill of making more money off of offering less in terms of service and perks. And I think it would go a long ways optically to just essentially, whether you say it out loud or you don't, we're just not going to raise prices across the board for a little bit of time, or until the construction is done. Again, raising prices at all during major times of construction in a theme park, let alone when you don't have all this competition from your biggest competitor. And then you have, people aren't wanting to spend as much money. They've priced out the middle class, all these things. I think pausing price increases would be a great move. But I do think going into 2026, once we see what the effect Epic Universe is on Disney World, how's Universal doing compared to Disney World, that will tell us a lot, maybe how Disney's sort of marketing positioning goes into 2026. And if they feel confident enough that they can raise ticket prices in that environment. Because if they don't get hit on attendance and they still have people coming to the parks like crazy, they very well could raise prices because they just go, yeah, people are still coming. But they are hurting on attendance. People aren't coming to the parks like they were. Their bookings are looking down in 2026. Raising prices in that environment, I don't think is going to be a great move. So as confident as the author here on Blog Mickey is about them raising prices in 2026, I'm not as sold on not the fact that they would have the audacity, I guess you could say, to do that, but optically and just how they would be potentially positioned against their biggest competitor would not be a great move. And mind you, by that point, supposedly Disney's going to have a new CEO sometime in 2026. This could be up to discretion whenever they do announce these or whatever. This wouldn't be Bob Iger making this decision. It would be whoever the new CEO is. And if they would want to make their mark and maybe they want to appeal more to middle class families and try and be more family friendly, they could come in and do something with the pricing that's not just an increase like we've seen basically every year for the past decade. They could do something different. So there are some unknown variables that could lead to not having the prices go up on tickets in November and December of 2026. But given Disney's track record, and really the most predictable way to know future behavior is look at past behavior, and they typically raise ticket prices. But again, the environment is ever changing, a lot more competition, a lot more other factors going on than just simply Disney being on their own and being able to charge more for the vacation destination that they are, especially given a lot of the attention that the price increases, the fan backlash, the overall brand sentiment has had the past few years. It's not the same ball game it was 5 years ago as it is right now. So we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing there, how Epic Universe affects them and everything else that goes on. But when we do find out about that, we will talk about it on here and let you know about it. By the way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about Disney raising prices in a couple of the theme parks and staying even in some of the others? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.